Hello, everybody. Welcome back
Hi.
to It's Time to Toss the Dice. I'm Will. This is Lindsay.
Howdy.
Uh, Season 2 of The Wheel of Time, the Amazon
Not yet.
series, has released.
Yes.
So we will be discussing the first three episodes, the only three episodes that are out right
Currently
now.
out.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing those three. For anybody who hasn't read the books, this is your spoiler alert right now. There will probably be some spoilers given away from how these episodes coincide to where the party is currently at in the books as well.
Yes.
So, with that being said, let's go ahead and discuss season
Yeah.
2 of The Wheel of Time.
I suppose we should start with the cold open. Episode 1. The Dark Friend Social.
Yeah, you, it was really. I was having trouble the darkness of it, like
Mm.
not how dark the scene was, but the actual how dark the scene is. I
Well,
can't
they put
see
a
a
little girl
damn
in it.
thing. Like I can't see a damn thing here. I'm trying to watch. I was watching it on my phone, and there was an Aes Sedai ring I noticed, but
Yes. And it was
I couldn't make out the color of the stone.
I think it was black.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm pretty sure that they have black rings for themselves that they stash somewhere, I
It,
guess.
and that's what I thought I saw. I'm positive that's what Amazon is calling an Aes Sedai Great Serpent ring. And with their stones, like I couldn't tell, like is that a blue stone? Is that a red stone? But it's
I'm
just
pretty sure it was black.
so freaking dark, I can't make out a goddamn thing. Or was it indeed a black stone?
I believe it was.
Okay, so they are making it known in the cold open of season 2 that
That
the
there's
Black Ajah exist.
yes. Which the tower
The
I
tower
don't know if we've
denies
gotten it in the show yet, but the tower
vehemently.
denies it vehemently
Yeah,
that they do not exist because the oaths make it
the
impossible.
oaths forbid it. Yeah, you sworn to three
Um,
oaths, you can't lie. Blah 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 blah.
blah blah blah. Right. So, what do you think of the Tinker Girl?
The way they basically turned Trollocs into pets in that scene was
It was interesting.
weird.
I like
Interesting,
how
a
they put
very,
her
very
under
polite
the
way to put it.
table to show everybody that was there, though.
Mhm.
I did like that. I like that perspective.
I like the coldness, the callousness of Ishamael in that, to where he's like, "Am I a monster? People call me," you know.
I I loved his because as book readers, obviously we know what Shemael's motives
Mhm.
for joining the shadow, and that scene, especially when he was out there with the little girl and the Trolloc, talking about his perceptions of reality
Mhm.
and getting into the philosophy of it, tied right into why he's where and who he is,
Right.
which I really enjoyed.
The Trollocs, him basically petting, like not basically, he was petting a Trolloc, and it was kind of, leaning in like a loving cat for pets or whatever. Didn't make much sense to me.
I
Well,
think
he
it's
did, like the way he was, scratching on the side of the face and it was leaning in. It doesn't make any sense because he is not the creator of the Shadow Spawn.
I think he is in the show though. I
That
think he's
doesn't
the
make it right. He's not. Like,
I
read the
think he's our
freaking
Agenor.
books. Agenor is the creator of Shadow Spawn. So if it was Agenor in that situation, it would make a little bit more sense to me. Like,
But we don't
da
have an
da,
Agenor. I think they merged him with the Shemael.
which doesn't make any sense. So if you have 13 Forsaken,
Well, they don't.
and
In the show they have 8.
which is retarded as well. Again, it's not hard to do your research on this. People read like the first 10 chapters of the book, and you could figure this out.
I think it was an intentional decision
To just shit all over Robert Jordan's
to cut the
story.
Forsaken. Moving on.
As much as they die in the books,
Yeah. What do you think about Maureen carrying water and her just whole I didn't like it.
I didn't like Moraine or her demeanor in any of these episodes. Like, I thought she was just
I
a
didn't either.
cold-hearted bitch.
She was cruel to Lan. Like they don't it wasn't right. And not only that, I think the thing that gets me the most is they took her channeling away under the premise, they've said this, to give her more screen time in season 2 because in books 2 and 3 she's not there a whole lot, right? And then what do they have her do in the first 3 episodes? The exact same thing that she does in the books. There's nothing different.
Yeah, and her story,
I mean, I'm sure there will be. I'm just saying, up till now, the only thing that's different is that she's a butthead.
and she's such a stark contrast to her character from the books, because her character from the books by no means could ever be considered a pushover. Like,
No,
Moraine was stubborn and she was set in her ways, just
I
as
don't
much
like.
as Lan was. Which, I mean, they got that part right when they were talking about
Yeah, I don't
how
like the way she was talking to Lan though. She would never do that in the
no, but
books.
she was always a calming presence.
Yes.
Like for the party and everything. She was stubborn, she was set in her ways, and she was going to have her way, but the way she went about it was 180-degree different from how she
Mhm.
goes about it here. Like, she is just a cold, callous bitch in the
She is.
show, and it's
Lan doesn't deserve that. And
Moraine doesn't deserve that.
they tried to have Varen and Adelius explain it off, but it was
Which Amazon started digging themselves into this hole in season one when they decided she was just going to be shielded and tied off and cast aside.
who knows. I
Like
don't
when
know.
you start just making up random bullshit that doesn't happen, then you have to
Then what are you gonna do
you,
about
you,
it?
you have to live with your decision. I mean,
Right.
it's a just stupid decision that they made that we're now stuck dealing with the consequences of.
Right. Speaking of the people that she's staying with, we don't have any Van Deen has obviously poofed, but we have Varen instead. I They said Varen and I got like so excited because it's
Hmm.
Varen. And I can't be mad that it's not Van Deen and Adelius because it's Varen.
Right.
So, yeah, that made me really happy that we got Varen in these scenes. I think she's great.
Yes.
I hope that I hope they keep her story consistent with the books because it's so good.
Good fucking. They haven't kept anybody's story consistent with the books. Why would they
Well,
start
they
now?
have to. It's such a pivotal what she does is so important. Without what she does, the person she gives it to couldn't be who she is. So,
Eh,
without trying to
I
spoil
understand.
everything, I know it says full spoilers, but
No, I understand that, but at the same time, there's nobody's story that they've told in the book so far that are
well, we'll see.
accurate to Robert Jordan's telling.
That
Nobody's
is true.
story.
We did get Bail Doman though. That was exciting.
We did get Bill Doman.
That was really exciting. I like his actor a lot.
Yeah, we got Bill Doman about 50 something chapters late, but yeah, we got him.
But I like him. I'm really hoping
We
that
got Elias Machara as well.
yes. I'm hoping that Matt and Min get on a boat with him. That's what I'm hoping. Egwene is in the tower.
What?
Nynaeve is in the tower.
Nynaeve and Egwene are both in the tower.
We have colored weaves,
Hmm.
which is they were great. I loved them. So much better than season 1. I liked the lesson in the kitchen. Oddly enough.
Yeah,
I kind of love the fact that Nynaeve just drank the dirty water.
yeah, out of frustration. But you would think if she was frustrated enough to do that, she would have been frustrated enough to channel.
Well,
With the way
she's
her
got to be
block was described, and
pretty. Her block is It's got to be more than that,
If you're
more than just drinking
frustrated
some dirty
enough to
water.
dirty, bro, you know how pissed I'm gonna be if I have to drink fucking dirty dishwater. Like,
Yeah, but it's Nynaeve. That's something that she would. It doesn't happen in the books, but it's something that I could see her doing.
mm,
You disagree?
yeah, I think her pride wouldn't allow it. Her pride is indomitable.
Yep. I like that we got some more Alana. I like her character development and her portrayal a little bit better in this season. I think she's got better lines, better scripting, better acting, that sort of thing. Not acting, better directing, I guess I
Yeah.
would say. Yeah. Because the actress is fine. I just think some of the directing and blocking and choices like that in the first one weren't great. But
We
so
see
far, I really like it here. It's much,
Leandrin.
much better.
We see
Huh?
Leandrin taking a keen interest in Nynaeve.
Yes. Are okay. So what we've seen so far, do we? I'm still. I really want an Elida, but
You know, there was something that was said in, I can't remember if it was episode 1 or episode 2. I believe it was
oh,
episode
you know
2
what it
actually,
is? This
with
just hold
Elaine
on.
when they were clearing out Elaine's novice room of all of
Right.
her property, and the mistress of novices asked her who authorized all these servants and everything to be here. She said, "Well, if it's going to get them in trouble, I'm not going to say." Kind of leads like that.
You don't
She
think
said,
Elida would have authorized
well,
it,
she
do you?
said it was done as a favor to her mother.
Oh, that would
And,
be Elida.
and who was Elida? Elida was Queen Morgase's,
Right.
uh, whatever
But
the fuck they're
Morghese
called.
knows better. But anyway.
She does, but
Um,
again, that's not something that happens in the books, but it does lead to uh, Elida being brought in because that's the only Aes Sedai that I can think of that would have
it would do
done a
that.
favor for the Queen of Andor is.
Yeah. There is another consideration though, that entire scene where the Aes Sedai are standing around talking about Nynaeve
Mhm,
and how Leandrin hasn't been allowed to train her because she's not allowed with the novices
mhm,
because she killed one.
mhm.
Um, that is thinking back to New Spring and what Elida did for Moraine and Swan. That's very Elida and
Mhm.
less Leandrin. Being so
Say,
hard on somebody that
and I can
it's
see Amazon fucking this up, and we don't get Elida either, and Leandrin is the Elida, and Leandrin was Queen Morgase's fucking God, I can't even think of the word.
advisor.
Yes, God. She was the advisor to the Queen of Andor, and she's gonna know Elaine and blah 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 blah. Like I can see them. I mean, if they're gonna combine the Chosen and just completely shit all over that dream, then
Yeah.
they can probably combine Aes Sedai too.
Yep. And
Because
then we
everybody
get
knows there's only 8 Chosen. There were never
yeah.
13. The other 5 were
So
a lie.
so after that, we get to the Shinarans.
Horseshit.
The Shinarans and Loyal and Perrin. Um, I love the Shinarans, just the way that they're great. I don't love the scenes. You and I talked about this before the we started this episode. There was no build up to the hunt for the horn. They do a good job explaining what they're doing, but we're talking about adapting or getting inspiration from or however they're doing it from a book that is titled The Great Hunt. And this is all of the they're not giving it enough attention.
And they didn't even make it seem like the horn was the important thing they were chasing. It was more
Right. It was caught on
we
fame.
have to get Patton Fane for what he did
Right.
to,
When really
in the keep.
they are the hunters for the horn,
Yeah.
despite all the
Despite
thousands of
every
hundreds of
other
people who are going to
quote
be doing
unquote
it.
hunter, whatever, they are the ones
Right.
that
Yeah. That are
know who
truly
has
hunting
it
it.
and where it's going, yeah. Or where
Right.
it's
Yep.
yeah.
So, I love Uno.
Mhm.
I love Uno. Um, and
Yeah, you
it's
don't
not
love him for
it's not
long.
huh?
You
It's
don't
not
love him for
Agumon that's
long.
with them. It's what's his name?
Masima.
No, not Masima.
Well, in the book, it's Masima.
No, the guy lead Ingtar.
Yeah. Ingtar. Yep.
Yep. Every time he comes on screen, I just shake my head and bite my tongue.
Say Masima
So
should be with him as well.
he is, but I don't know which one of them is Masima.
I'm not sure either.
Not
But
sure.
yes, Ingtar's the one in charge. Yes.
What do you think about Elias?
The
I think his
whole
eyes are freaking creepy.
the whole Wolf Brother thing doesn't make sense to me as how they portray it.
I'm confused. So,
Like,
because I've been
uh,
rereading book two. I'm currently in the process of that,
mhm.
and they do see like so in this episode they see those visions or parents sees those visions in the house, and they do see stuff like that as they're traveling along. But the Shinarans see it too, and I don't
It's
know
like ripples in the pattern itself. It's
exactly.
not
It's not
the
a
gift
wolf
from the
thing.
right. So and I do believe that throughout the books, I can't remember if
We
it
get
happened as early
ripples,
as we are, but not even talk
or
about
the
the
ripples
ripples.
turn into
But
the
the wolves
bubbles.
can send images to Perrin,
They can, but the
like
wolves aren't gonna
telepathically, but they can't see something that happens behind closed
inside of a
doors.
house,
Right.
right? And
So
I'm a
that's
little
what I'm
bit.
saying. It doesn't make any sense how it's
It doesn't
portrayed.
make
Like
sense,
some of the things, the first camp they came across, he saw visions there. Like those, I could almost be or see as being images that the wolves have given him because they're
hmm
outside. There's a dead dog there. You know, all this shit. Like I can almost buy that. But then in uh,
in the
episode
town. They
two,
give
like
us
they're
the
in a
fly
town.
scene,
Yeah,
and the fly scene is from the books, and it's awesome that they included it, especially considering how iconic of a scene it is. But the vision thing that Perrin
doesn't
had,
make
and then
sense.
the comments from Elias about him being able to tell reality from not
Doesn't make
makes me
sense.
think it's a wolf thing, which is weird.
And that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense. There's no
It
correlation
doesn't.
between wolves and having visions like that. There's no
Right.
correlation whatsoever.
Yeah, I'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they develop this further if they explain
And
that
then
it's a
parents'
thing for the
eyes still
pattern.
changing pisses me off.
Yeah.
His eyes going from gold to brown to gold. Like no, no.
Well, at some point I imagine they'll stay gold.
I'm not fucking betting on anything.
I don't know.
I mean, Elias is obviously have stayed, but that they've not gotten anything else hardly right. So I'm not banking on that either.
Yep. I'm not sure that I appreciate Nynaeve fighting sparring with the warders. Just as a book reader and as somebody who has role played Wheel of Time extensively from a White Tower perspective,
It's not something
no
that's
novice,
allowed. Right.
no novice, regardless of age or relationship to those warders, would ever be allowed to do that.
They're not even allowed to communicate with the tower guards or the warders, let alone spar with them. Like they can't even talk to them in friendly banter.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the rules of the White Tower.
It is. It is. Novices are just straight up no.
Yeah, and acceptance they can
Um,
only do so under
Moderate
right.
supervision. They can go watch, but
They
they're
can
not
go
really
watch,
allowed
but
to
they're still even as an
interfere.
accepted, they're still not allowed to go out there and spar with a warder or a tower guard or a prospective
Right.
warder or anything like that.
Yeah. So what do we think about sexy Alana talking to Egwene?
That was creepy. That was
It was so
real fucking
weird.
weird.
It
That was
was
real
so
fucking weird.
weird.
That was uncomfortable to watch. Like if I'm being honest, like
It was
watching that made me
I
uncomfortable.
it was and I love how well Madeline portrayed how uncomfortable Egwene is. In that she's just like, what are you talking about? Oh my god, that's what you're talking about? No, no, no.
See, and that like I don't think that by White Tower law like that would be acceptable between an Aes Sedai and a novice either. Like
It
They
wouldn't be. Well, and I said I just plain up straight wouldn't do something like that.
they're just they've taken all the fucking rules and everything that means anything and they've crumpled it up, threw it into the fucking trash can and then lit it on fire and it is so infuriating.
Yep. No, I do. I love what Leandrin did to Nynaeve to get her to channel.
Yeah.
That is excellent. It's Leandrin, it's Nynaeve. It's not acceptable, but knowing
But that is
Leandrin,
actually something that I could see happen.
it follows along in the books. I could see it happening. I can see Leandrin doing something like that, and I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I
that
thought the
one,
entire scene was fantastic.
a novice would never be allowed to channel at an Aes Sedai, but I could see that happening.
Yep. And then more. Oh, we get Matt. There's more stuff in between with Moraine being a whatever.
A bitch. Just a
and
bitch.
more Nynaeve and Egwene, but it's fine. But Matt,
Hmm.
I really like Donalfin as
Yes,
Matt.
the
I like him a lot.
the demeanor of Matt is more. It's still not the Matt that I would expect when I think of Matt from Cawthon,
It's better
but
than
it's
Barney though.
but it's much better than the Matt we got in season one, who
It
was
is. It is so much
an
better.
absolute just travesty to the character of Matt from Cawthon.
Yep. I'm so far in what we've got for this season, I am enjoying Matt much more. We're getting a little bit of that spunky, sassy Matt.
A little bit, still not
Yeah.
near as much as where it should be, but it's much less dark and harrowing than it
Mhm.
was in
Yep.
season one, which I appreciate.
Yep. I like the nod to Beltane. I thought
Hmm.
that was nice. It kind of lets all of us know that, oh, by the way, a whole year has passed.
Right, I did appreciate that. Again, that's something that's not in the books, but that's something that's not in the
Well,
books that
here's what's interesting. You have to remember in the books, book 1 to book 14 takes place in about 2.5 years. It's not very long.
right.
So, and I think they're going to stretch it out a bit for the show and make it take longer. So I appreciate the nod to time passage that they
Well,
did.
and in the books, we also get to know about the changes of the season and stuff like that, so we can tell that time is progressing. So I'm okay with them throwing that in, like, oh hey,
I am too.
when they bring up we've been in the tower for 5 months and blah 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 blah, and then
Yep. I appreciate it.
hey, it's been a year since Trollocs fucking murdered everybody we've ever known, basically.
Yep. So Moraine
But while we're
tries
talking
to run
about,
away.
before we do that,
Okay.
let's discuss the little nod to Beltane that we have there. And Perrin writes a letter to
Oh,
the two
yes,
girls
to
in
the
the tower.
girls.
Yes, two girls in the tower, saying, hey,
Miss you, love you.
miss you guys, thinking of you guys, especially now it's Beltane. Last Beltane, that's when we all kind of got set on this journey that we're all on, and
Yep.
we all got pulled our separate directions, and you guys are there, and I'm here, and Rand's,
And woe is Perrin.
yeah, God knows where Rand is, and God knows where Matt is, but next year,
I'm sure where Matt is, he's having fun and blah blah blah. And
yep,
before the girls get the letter, it is shown to Matt by Leandrin.
it's read to Matt, not shown to Matt,
Read to
it's
Matt
read to Matt.
by Leandrin. And
Hmm.
I I did not go I wanted to go back and watch the scene again and I did not. But I think you're right. I think she straight up lied to him because she basically said no mention of you. Right?
She said no mention of Matt from Cawthon.
Yeah. That's a lie.
It's an out and out lie.
It's a straight up lie. So I don't know if we want to say what that means here in the podcast.
I will. I mean,
but
Amazon's the ones that put it out there.
um but we know from season 1 that Aes Sedai cannot lie.
Cannot
We know
lie.
from the cold open that there are Black Aja.
Hmm.
So put two and two together. Black Aja obviously can't exist if they have to tell the truth because that They couldn't.
Right. Hold on, I lost all my volume here. Oh, what is going on? Hello? Oh, goodness. Hopefully that fixed it. Technical difficulties, I apologize. I have no idea where it went. Can you still hear me?
Yes,
Okay, I can hear you on Discord, so I'm just gonna have to unmute you here and talk
you
you
are
through here.
you are an adequate volume now. I'll have you know.
Okay. I'm gonna have to unmute in the stream. Just you're probably gonna hear me twice, but oh well. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that.
That's weird. Okay.
It is
Moving
very weird.
on. Um, did you want to say anything else? Andrin apparently lying to Matt?
Yeah, I don't think it's apparent. Like I think she did. Like the way she worded it, like she went out of her way to say, like
She did.
she
It
didn't
was definitely meant for us to catch, I think.
she didn't leave it open to interpretation. Like if they were wanting to leave it open to interpretation, or how they say like Aes Sedai skirting the rules, because they always say Aes Sedai find a way, blah blah blah. Like she didn't just leave out that last sentence and be like, oh well, I'm sorry, it looks like,
Yeah.
she specifically said, oh, and no mention, like she went out of her way to
Make it very
verbalize it.
clear that he was not mentioned.
Yeah, she went out of her
Yeah.
way to verbalize it. So that,
It's interesting.
yeah, it
Says a
leads
lot.
me to believe that.
I'm partial. Well, I don't know because the little girl was there. I was kind of hoping the Dark Friend Social happened in the dream world, but the little girl was there. So she wouldn't have been there if it was not real world. So how did everybody get there?
Well, the little girl would have been less weird in the dream world than the shadow spawn.
That's true. There would not have been any Trollocs there.
No, like a little girl can, if she happens to have the
Right, she
talent,
could.
could find her way into the world of dreams.
Right, but
Shadow
then go
spawn
under a
cannot.
table and say mom?
Yeah.
Not only that, but see now I'm wondering because I'm assuming that the Black Aja member that was at that table may have been Leandrin. So how did she get
Well,
there?
was the little girl talking to? Who
She
did
said
she call?
mom.
Right, but who did she call mom? Was it to the Black
It
Aes
was the
Sedai?
tinker.
Okay.
It was to the tinker woman who was there.
Okay. I was gonna
Or at
say
least
because
that's what her bottom half clothing would suggest anyways.
we did find out that Leandrin has a child. Well,
Who's ancient.
yeah. Well, we also know that Aes Sedai live to be much older than you and I do.
Yes.
Like
Yes, which is
hundreds of
told in
years
these
old.
episodes. Hmm.
Yes, hundreds of years old. So the fact that, this old man at the docks or whatever is her kid isn't really a surprise that an Aes Sedai who looks her age would have a child that old.
No, it's not. The fact
Landrin
that it's
having a child is
um
what
an Aes Sedai
makes it
in
weird.
general having a child, and then a red on top of that, and Leandrin on top of that
Right.
is very odd and very not book.
Not book at
Very
all.
not book. But let's move on. The final scene of this episode is the fight with the Fades.
Hmm.
I really wanted Drakkar for this scene
Yeah.
very badly. I can understand they're not that critical in the books to make a whole nother shadow character for them. It would have been nice, but it's fine. I would have liked if the savers, the rescuers had shown up a little bit earlier. They were a little late. Now
It
here's an interesting question though, because the warders, and I know this happens in the book, and the warders don't sense the Drakkar, and it's a little bit weird. But because I'm wondering with Lan, because his bond is masked, does that goof up his spidey sense for Shadow
or
Spawn?
maybe that's why he did show up, is because his spidey sense was tingling. Because it was just Moraine running off by herself.
Well, he did say I should have felt them,
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
which I think he actually says in the books too, if I'm not mistaken, or something similar to that. Weird.
It is weird.
I like the scene. I liked the
I
flaming sword.
when I watched the scene, I actually liked the scene.
I did too.
The fight scene, especially at the end when Moraine and Lan thought that they
We're
were
gonna die, and we're saved
were
by Varen. And
they
is it
thought
what's
they
his
were
name?
gonna
Thomas.
die, and yeah, Tomas.
Tomas.
Yep.
Thank you.
They thought they were gonna die, and Lan reaches over and for Moraine, and she grabs his hand, and he says,
What
basically,
aren't you? It's actually right on the screen. It's what aren't you telling me?
yeah. And
Yep.
she reaches over and she grabs his hand, and it almost looks like we're about to have that tight relationship between Moraine and Lan that we're supposed to have. That was
Right.
in the books is always there. Like Lan and Moraine are thick as thieves, and you're
They
not coming
are.
between them. Like I mean, they're
I just
inseparable. Even
I did
when you
not
don't see
like.
one of them, if you see one of them, they're both there, whether you see them
Yeah,
or not.
I do not like their arc in that episode at
It
all.
it wasn't until the next episode when Moraine has another little bitch fit and basically
Yeah,
shits all over Lan or whatever that scene kind of meant
exactly.
much less to me, because I'm like, oh well, you just built up this scene to rectify this terrible storytelling for Moraine. Like
For Moraine, right?
here's your out. Like this is your way out to get her back to where she needs to be, and
Yeah.
then you just had her go the opposite direction again, and I just
I don't. It's so weird because I mean, she's been cut off from the source, and I can understand that being a serious frustration point for her, and that. But Lan has been at her side for 20 years. They know each other backwards and forwards, bond or not. And that doesn't just go away because you can't channel anymore. In
yep.
my opinion, at least.
And we even have a conversation about how they met and all that stuff in the next episode, which again, like they
I
start
really
building
appreciated that nod to New
they
Spring.
start building this story about how close Lan and Moraine are, and then they did nothing with it. Nothing with it.
I was also a little bit upset that they left out the part where she proceeded to channel dump water on him later. But I did. I appreciated the story brought in from New Spring to tell about their starting. Should we move on to episode 2?
Yeah.
Cold open is a dream sequence. Not really surprised by it. Wasn't anything special in my opinion. The Fort Gate though,
Hmm.
I I love Kyrian. I think it's gorgeous. I like the costuming. I like that they feel very different from
Before
everybody else that we've seen so far in the show.
before we see the Fort Gate, we see Celine.
Uh, well, I think she's in the first scene, but yes, we do get Celine
Before
right
the
at the
Fort Gate.
beginning. At when Rand wakes up from his nightmare,
Hmm.
he's there with Celine, who I don't want to. I know we said full spoilers, but I don't really want to spoil Celine
Right.
at all. I like her. I like her a lot. I think she's I think she is exactly what she should be.
She's not quite how I would envision her.
No,
Because I
but she
believe she had blonde hair. I don't,
no
or did no?
black.
She did have dark hair. You're right. You're right. She did.
She was very very much written as like a Snow White kind of a look.
She's. I know when we meet her in the books, they
She's
say
playing damsel in distress in a portal world.
how like stunningly beautiful she is. Now this Celine is not ugly by any means, but she didn't quite have
No,
that wow factor that I was expecting from Celine.
I. It took me a little bit to see it, but I think they did a good job. I think she's cast
Yeah,
well.
again, I'm not
At
saying
the
that
same
she's
time,
ugly or anything like that. It's just
no,
when they describe her in the books, it's like the wow, like this is, quite
she's the
possibly
most beautiful
the
person
most
on
gorgeous
the
woman
face
on
of
the
the
planet.
earth.
Right.
Yeah,
And
but the problem with that is it's so subjective
that's true.
that anybody they cast could be wrong for any number of reasons based on the description that was provided for Celine in the books. So, I like her.
So yeah, I don't think it was a bad pick at all. It just wasn't quite what I was expecting.
No, but I like her. I think she's um embodying the character very well throughout both of episode 2 and 3. She does an excellent job, and I can see the manipulation
Hmm.
and that she knows exactly what she's doing, and I
Hmm.
love it. We get another scene with Maureen and Lan. I'm just not thrilled about them. I don't really want to talk about them.
It's
Um,
all trash.
it is. More Elias and Perrin, the
Also
river, and
also trash.
I don't love it. I want there to be. Oh, this is the fly scene with the flies in the house.
Which
So we already
we've
talked
already
about
talked
this a little
about.
bit, yeah. Um, yeah, we
I,
get the fade on the door. The
we
fade on
do.
the door is fantastic.
Hmm.
It's straight from the books,
Hmm.
and if they had cut that, I would have been very upset because that scene is when you realize, like, oh shit, Podon Fane did that.
Yeah.
What is he? Because Dark Friends can't nail fades to a door, right? Alex can't.
They could try.
Forsaken probably can't, right?
I wouldn't go that far.
Probably. It
I,
depends on who it is.
I wouldn't go that far. I don't think that there's there's one fade that they couldn't. Any other fade I think would be fair
Any other
game.
fade they could, yeah. But okay, so short of the 13 most powerful people in the world, nobody else can do that, and Fane can't channel. So
I was gonna say any powerful channeler could probably do it, but
probably.
no run of the mill
Dark Friend
traveling peddler is going to nail a fucking
traveling peddler
is going to nail a fade to a wall while it's still alive.
And that's the first hint that we get that Fane is much more than he may appear.
Yeah.
And I love it. Rand, we get Rand as a employee in an insane asylum.
Yep. The nuts running the nut house.
In a an institution. It took me a second. It was a little bit jarring, but then I was like, you know what? They're in Kyrian. I could totally see them having a place for people like this.
Yeah, I could see a
100%.
I could see a nut house in Kyrian.
I could totally see a nut house in Kyrian. Yep. I love how he helps his charge there.
Yeah. Yeah, his
I think
charge.
it's great.
His charge makes mention
Who was a
several
blade
times.
master.
Makes mention several times about Rand's appearance.
Yes, and calls him an Aiel.
Calls him an Aielman.
Yeah,
Several times.
and was very obviously fought in the Aiel War.
Yes.
And is probably suffering from PTSD.
They even make mention of that when they're talking that, you know, the Aiel War was 20 years ago and it's over now. Like, I believe those are Rand's exact words to him. The Aiel War was 20 years ago.
It might be. I don't remember exactly. But I like it. I like the way that he treats his charge. I like the coin that he gives to the kid on the way there. I like that the Forgate has guards on it to keep Forgate citizens from going into Kyrian proper without a permit. I thought that was great.
Rand has to have a permit to get in. Yep. Shows it to the guard before he can even get through the gate.
Yep. I think it's spot on for Kyrian. Oh, this is actually good. We get the Nynaeve watching Breakbone Fever get healed by an accepted. Ironically, it's Liandrin that took her to the infirmary. But how we saw the impact that had on Nynaeve that sets up her future very, very well. And I appreciated it a lot.
Yeah, Nynaeve, she has that epiphany of, I can use Saidar in conjunction with the herbs and everything that I'm already used to help people even more than I do now. Like, you can just almost see the light bulb come on in her head. Like, wow, this could really work for me.
Yep, and that coupled with, she obviously has the knowledge of the immense level of healing that she did in season 1. Seeing this at a much smaller scale, realizing that she can save people's lives. It was a beautiful scene. I loved it.
Yeah, I was okay with that scene. I was all right with that one.
I love it.
I'll give credit where credit is due. I'm not just.
Yeah. Liandrin brings Mat sweet cakes. This is the scene. So the first scene with Mat wasn't quite the Mat I wanted, but when Liandrin brings him the sweet cakes and he puts a piece of it in his mouth, and then he gets all excited when she leaves and does his Mat thing, I was like, that's Mat. It's great. He pulls down the chest to chisel away at the
at the wall.
Yep. Elaine. This is where we get introduced to Elaine and all of her earthly possession.
Which is, I don't like the way they portray Elaine either. I just don't.
I love Elaine. I like her a lot.
Not a fan, because even going back to the book, yes, she's the daughter heir of Andor. She's the future queen of the most powerful nation in the world. But even in the book, she's very down to earth for who she is. She doesn't. She is. And like when she gets to the White Tower and she knows that she's a novice, she knows that she's a novice. Like, I'm not the daughter heir here. I am a fucking
That's
nobody.
The one thing that I didn't like is that, especially because she makes it very clear that she had been there during the summers previously. I would have expected them to write the character. Not that I think the actress did a beautiful job and I love her portrayal.
Yeah, no, I don't have an issue with the actress playing Elaine. It's just the way Elaine is portrayed just doesn't make
the writing should have reflected her knowledge of what it means to be a novice, because she knows. And to suggest that she doesn't know, you're right. You're right. But again, we were talking before, and it's she does accept the punishment for whoever would have been punished for bringing all that stuff in as a favor to her mother.
Well, not right away. So when we first meet her, she's having every fucking pillow, blanket, and fur this
Right.
side of the
But again, we
dragon
find
wall
out that
unloaded into her
that's
goddamn
not
room,
necessarily her decision.
and no, it was her decision. It just wasn't her doing.
It's fair.
It was
Fair.
her decision,
Although,
not her doing. And she
to be
basically,
fair, we haven't met Margaze yet, but we know if Margaze said, "No, you're taking all this with you," who is Elaine to tell her no?
right. But we also know that Morghese also spent time in the tower, and she would fucking know better too.
She would know better. That is true, because she is White Tower trained. She was a novice. She knows better.
Yes,
But
every
again,
daughter heir of Andor spends time in the White Tower, whether they can
and
channel or
knows better
whether they can channel or not. If they
or
can't,
not.
if they can't channel, they're still taken there to learn how to be a better leader.
Yes.
If they can channel,
and to play the game of houses.
yeah, and if they can channel, then obviously they're taught as novices or to whatever ability that they have. If they can progress beyond that, they progress beyond that, so on and so forth. So
That actually reminds me of part of the scene in, I think it was in the previous episode, with Moraine and Bail Doman, how she haggles down the price of the paper, which is really all she wants from him.
yeah,
And how he's like, "I've traded with the best in the world," and she's like,
they may be.
"They may be, but
They
they're
may.
not Aes Sedai.
Yeah,
We play the game. We invented the game.
Yeah, she said they may have perfected the game.
But
I
we
said
invented.
invented it.
I
That I
loved that
respected.
line. That line was fantastic.
That and Moraine is from Karian as well, so
She
she's
is.
very well versed.
She's very good.
She's
Not
from
only
the
that, but she's
from the
Targaryen in nobility.
yeah, she's from the royal family in
Yes, she
Karian,
should have been on the throne.
so she's very well versed in Dice
Yes.
Damar,
Hmm.
or the Game of Houses as they call it, however they choose to call it.
Yep.
But Elaine, her pompousness, her
I did not see
holier
it as
than
pompous as no.
that
I kind of saw
holier
it as
than
like
thou
a.
attitude was.
She does have that in the early books, though.
She really doesn't. Like when she first meets Egwene, she's very done. Oh, you're from the Two Rivers. That's the same place Randall Thor's from. Blah blah blah. Like she's not like when she.
See, and I didn't take it as pompousness when she told
She
Egwene
does
that
when she says to
it was
Egwene when
very just sort of matter of
sees the
fact.
stitching. She says, "This is from the Two Rivers." She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, so you're my subject." Like I wanted to like fucking reach through and slap her myself. As soon as she said that, I
See,
wanted to fucking slap her.
I took that as just a sort of a matter of fact kind of a thing, not a I'm trying to be better than you kind of thing. But leave it.
But,
We'll just
either
have to-
way,
we'll just have to agree to disagree.
either way, that's not Elaine. For again, she is the future queen of Andor, the daughter heir of Andor. But in the book, she is not noble in the tower in that sense. Like she knows her place in the tower. She
Yeah.
doesn't see herself as better than the novices. And when she's first introduced
No,
here,
she doesn't.
when she is first introduced here, they already put her above the other novices in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they shouldn't have.
And I didn't. Again, it's not the actress's fault per se. I don't
No.
think that the actress was bad, or
I really like Sierra, actually.
I just that's not Elaine. That's not Elaine.
Well,
That's not
hopefully,
Moraine. That's
hopefully
not
we'll
fucking
get there.
Lan.
She did make a comment about, I don't remember exactly what the line was, but how she liked tinkering or figuring things out, which was a setup 100% to what she's gonna do later, which I liked a lot. What do you think about Sheriam?
I don't remember her looking. I'm trying to remember how she's described in the books,
I don't honestly remember how she's
and
described in the
I can't
books.
remember either. So I don't really have a problem with Shiriam.
I like her. I will be honest with you though, the every time I see the actress in her blue dress, being Shiriam with her hair up, doing the Aes Sedai Shiriam thing, the only thing I can think of is the
The what?
what's gonna happen to her later.
Oh,
Because she's the first one.
yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So Nynaeve follows Leandrin, yada yada, more pairing. Um I do like the town that they showed up in. Set design overall throughout all 3 episodes was great, I think. We got more White Tower. The Varen and Adelius's house was wonderful. Um, the city that Perrin and the Shinarans end up in is great. I thought all of the stuff was good. Conversation with Moiraine and Varen. The oh, Rand beats up the guy from the psych ward
I
so that he can with Logain.
think he did a little bit more to beat him up.
Well, they didn't say he was dead.
I
I don't think
yes,
he killed him.
sometimes you don't have to say shit when it's obvious. Like that man is not alive.
I don't think he's dead.
I don't think
We'll
he's
see.
alive.
We get more Celine, which is great. Elaine takes the punishment for whoever it was who would have been punished for bringing in her stuff, which is very Elaine.
That is a very Elaine thing to
Yeah.
do.
It was great. Leandrin has a adult child, a deathbed child who's
Yeah,
like 90
yeah.
or something. Slaps Nynaeve, who shouldn't have followed her in the first place. That's another thing that I'm not super fond of that they're doing here is they're providing Nynaeve a number of ways to leave the tower and go out into Tarvalon.
Which again is another
Which again is
fucking law
not
of the White
allowed.
Tower.
It
Novices
is
do not leave the ground under any circumstances
under
unless
any
accompanied
circumstances.
with an Aes Sedai.
Yep. And then Matt finds Min on the other side of the cell.
Yep.
Which seemed kind of odd until
Seemed
the
very
very
odd.
last scene, and yeah, until we find out why she's there. But I love that we get Min. I like that we get more Min. I like her so much better in these 2 episodes than I liked her in season 1.
Yes.
She's starting to develop a little bit, and we're getting more of the Min character, and I appreciate that. Do you like her? Yay, nay? Warming up to you, maybe?
I did like her until the end of episode 3.
I think she's being manipulated.
What happened at the end of episode 3 is not something that men would do.
Not later bookmen, but early bookmen might.
I don't think so. Not after she's. Again, we're also going off the premise that Amazon didn't fuck this up entirely from the outset and that she'd already met Matt before.
Right.
Like
so she
early
should already know
and she
Matt, but she
already knows
doesn't.
right, and she already knows Matt. So
Although I'm super curious because she does ask him if he wants to know what she sees, and he says no, which is characteristically Matt.
right.
And she doesn't tell him. But what's interesting is that Min should have made the correlation before the vision she saw because all of them have the same sort of sparky stuff with the shadow. All 3 of them do.
All the auras.
Right. So all of their auras kind of match for the Taviran boys. So she should have picked up on that, but that's really hard to put.
And she met Matt in like fucking what, chapter 15 or so of book 1 in Baerlon. I don't know if it's exactly chapter 15,
Yeah.
but when they were
she
in
does have the
Baerlon,
vision. she does have the vision there where he kills Rand or stabs Rand with the Shadar Logoth dagger, which is interesting and it freaks her out a little bit, understandably. Um, yeah.
And I don't remember that from the books either.
So, so the scene with Rand and Selene, where she tells him that she used to love someone and that when she's with him, she can pretend, when she's with Rand, she can pretend that she's with him and that he can't imagine what kind of a gift that is. And I just, like, stupid shit eating grin on my face.
Yeah, and
It's so good.
for those who haven't read further into the books, they obviously they don't know exactly who Selene is. But for those who
Right.
did, and as soon as you hear the name Selene, you're like, oh, it's
Selene.
yeah, you
Yeah.
then yes, that conversation makes a lot of sense. And
It's I really enjoyed it.
I actually enjoyed that too because that is something that is very tying between the
It
books
is.
and this shit show.
And it's I love it for in two ways because the just the show folks don't see the nuance in that conversation and you know that they don't, but for book readers, we know exactly how manipulative that is. Like
Mhm.
it seems sweet, but it's so not.
Yup.
I love that Elaine made her and Egwene um really bad wine. That's what she said that she liked to figure things out and make things and tinker with things, which is a great setup. I love it. I love that she made alcohol.
And they have a conversation where
About
Nynaeve,
Nynaeve.
Nynaeve
Yeah.
is a huge talker on the tower because she's the most powerful female channeler that the White Tower has seen in over 1,000 years, they say.
Yep.
And she's almost like a trophy for the White Tower at this point because they've
She really is.
like nobody in the White Tower is as strong as Nynaeve. Nobody in the
Not
tower
even
is,
close.
yeah. I mean, not
They're not
no,
even close.
nowhere near it. So for her to be there and for the Aes Sedai to have her
To give her
is
yeah,
is a huge like gold star for them. So she is the talk of the tower and makes her way
yep.
between from the novices all the way up to the Amerlin seat herself. Like everybody is aware of who Nynaeve Almira is. So Elaine in the books at this point when Elaine and Egwene are talking, she's talking about Egwene knowing Rand and being friends with Rand and growing up with Rand and
Right. And
asking about Rand
now it's
because
Nynaeve.
in the books by this point the
She's met him.
the party had gone through Caemlyn. Rand had fallen off of a wall into the
The
palace
tower.
gardens
Yeah, the palace.
and Caemlyn and had met Elaine and he was a big kind of talk around the palace for a while because who the hell's this boy that just fell into
Just fell into
the
the
garden? So he'd met Elaine
what an
already.
idiot.
He'd met her brother Gawain. He'd met
Yep.
Elada, the queen's Aes Sedai advisor, and he'd met Queen Morgase herself.
And
So
Elida had a foretelling.
Elida had a foretelling about him. It was a whole big to do, and obviously we don't have that now because
Right. So Nynaeve is the talk.
so Nynaeve
Um
is the talk. So he goes, oh, so you're from the Two Rivers, Nynaeve
yeah.
Almira, that's your friend, blah blah blah. So they're talking about Nynaeve in the room, and you can sense the jealousy from uh,
Egwene.
Egwene because Nynaeve doesn't want to be in the tower. She has no interest in training to be
Right.
an Aes Sedai. She's only there because she doesn't want them to
Egwene.
corrupt Egwene, which she
Corrupt.
thinks is going to happen to Egwene. She doesn't trust them. That's her
Yeah.
two river folk. By God, if she's there, I'm there, kind of thing. So that's the only reason that
Right.
Nynaeve is still around. And you you can feel the jealousy that Egwene has for Nynaeve, because Egwene does want to be there. She wants to learn.
Exactly.
She wants to be an Aes Sedai. She wants this to be her new
Hmm.
life, and
So little does she know.
she's very unhappy that Nynaeve is what she feels is almost like squandering the opportunity that's before
Yeah.
her. That she's there
It's
and she
not.
doesn't even want to be there, and
Yeah, it's not quite the way it is in the books, but I still really like it. In the books, Elaine does kind of act as a, maybe not this early, but Elaine's always kind of there between
there
Egwene and Nynaeve.
there is a minor
Um,
falling out between Egwene and Nynaeve when they're in the
yes.
tower, like
Is there? Okay.
a
So
little bit,
I
and
like this.
Elaine is kind of the
The mediator,
mediator,
so to speak,
essentially.
yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she's doing that here and establishing their friendship, which obviously we know goes
So
way beyond
I believe, and
their time here.
I could be mistaken, but I believe in the books it's because Nynaeve goes through the rings without talking to Egwene first. So after she comes out of the
I don't
rings
remember.
and she's an accepted, Egwene is hurt because Nynaeve never even told her that she was going through, and Nynaeve can't convince her, like, hey, I didn't know until I was there. Like, I didn't ask for this.
Right.
Like, it happened, bro.
Well,
Well,
in the books, Nynaeve wasn't a novice at all.
you're
Her
right.
first night in the tower, she was put through the arches.
You're absolutely right. She never even put on the white.
Mm-mm.
You're right. So I can't remember what their disagreement was, but I do remember Elaine being like they would all three be sitting
Yeah.
down, and Egwene wanted to talk to Nynaeve, and Nynaeve wanted to talk to Egwene. So Elaine's talking to Egwene and talking to Nynaeve, and trying to make everybody buddy again.
Yeah. Which is typical Elaine. I enjoyed it. So Nynaeve gets taken down to the arches. We get more scenes with Moiraine and Lan, and she's telling him, "You need to leave. Do not follow me. You need to go. You're basically not my warder anymore because I can't feel you," and just being kind of a bitch and not
Oh, she
telling
was
you
being
anything.
beyond more than a little bitch.
I don't
Lan
like it.
Lan says to her
He
specifically,
has a right to be angry.
Again, I know there were several parts in season 1 where I was tempted to stop watching. This scene right here, I was tempted to stop watching season 2.
Yeah.
The way that I can't remember exactly how Lan asked it, but he says, "You're an Aes Sedai, so I know you can't lie." And then he asks her a question about, I can't remember how he words it. Did
I'm
you
actually
ever what did you ever care about me, or something along those
yeah, something
lines?
like that.
And she just
She
dead-eyed
basically
looked
just
at
said we
him.
were never
She said we were never
equals.
equals.
See, and that is something that Book Moraine would never say.
Never.
Not in a million years. So I'm actually wondering. Now I know this doesn't follow the books per se, but when we know that when an Aes Sedai is gentle, is stilled, she can lie again. We know that Moraine was not stilled. But I'm wondering if whatever it is that she did to her broke her tie to the Oath Rod.
It can't have, because she can still channel. She was never severed from the source.
But we don't know that. We have no confirmation of that one way or the other.
That's true. But if they did sever from the source, then they need to stop calling her Sedai. She is not Moraine Sedai if she's been severed.
Right. And
she is just Moraine
I wish they had given us,
she is
because
just a useless bitch.
In the scene with Liandrin and Nynaeve, Liandrin shoves a shield onto her, which if Nynaeve knew anything, she would have been able to break. But she shoves a shield into her, and Liandrin says, "You can feel it there, because you can, but you can't get to it." Right? And the horror on Nynaeve's face. But with Moraine, we haven't gotten confirmation if she can still feel it.
In a way, we have twice.
Have we?
In season 2, episode 1, she carries the water up the hill, and she pours her own bath. And just like she did in the Wine Spring Inn, she does put her hand over the water to try and warm it up. But obviously, she can't touch the source. So if she's been severed and the source isn't there, she wouldn't even try.
Unless she's
Like Moraine is not stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're
And then
right. I'm just wondering if they.
and then was it the end of episode 1 when they're fighting the Fades?
And
What does she do?
Varen's weaves come in.
Varen's weaves come in, and
she thinks it's her.
Right. If she can't channel, she doesn't think it's her.
I see, and I don't understand that because no Aes Sedai, shielded or otherwise, would ever think that she was channeling when she wasn't.
Well, if
just because of
they're constantly
the sensation that they get when they're holding Saidar.
But if they're constantly
no
fighting
mistaking
against that shield, and all of a sudden, if they were to break it and to be able to channel again, there would be that sudden shock.
She would have felt it.
She would have felt it. I'm not arguing that. How many times I tell you, Amazon has fucked this up from the outset, but
Yeah, I know.
if Saidar is no longer there for her at all, not just hidden behind a shield, she's not going to reach for it. Like
That's fair. I'll give you that.
And she's not going to reach for it with the intent of using it. Like she was reaching for that dirt with the intent of pulling the weaves out of the earth.
Yeah, that's true. So the end of this episode, we get the Seanchan. I think they are wonderful. The fight scene, I got really excited during the fight scene when and I know this as a book reader that they don't just go around indiscriminately killing people because they don't want to kill anybody.
They want
They
want people to
swear to the Empire and to the Empress, may she live forever. And just seeing the battle scene start playing out and the Shienarans fighting for their lives, presumably, but then the Seanchan grab everybody and just start dragging them.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. I enjoyed it. I like their costuming. I like the way the Damane are portrayed.
I have issue.
I don't love the pacifier.
I have issue with several things with the Seanchan. First off, there's no Raken.
That's true.
I
would have loved to see their beasts, if you will.
The beasts from the Shandar Empire are something.
I would have loved
to
see some Raken.
So the fact that there's
some gold as well.
Yep, the fact that there's no beast, that was kind of disappointing. The Domain are absolute travesty. Like that's ridiculous.
I will say there is something I really do like about them. I don't particularly care for the pacifier. I'm just gonna call it pacifier. In their mouth, the collar that they wear, but the way that they did their channeling is great. The fact that it doesn't come from, and it's coming from the bracelets.
So, a little bit of backstory here that we find out about the Seanchan is there, and we see one in episode 3. We see one of these Domain going through and pointing out at, I believe it was 3 specific women, and those 3 women can all channel, and they don't revere their female channelers like this world does with the Aes Sedai and the White Tower and all that stuff.
No, they're slaves.
Every woman who can channel is to be chained. That's what
leashed, collared.
Yeah, Merith Domain
and made a slave.
One who must be collared.
Yep.
And then a Domain is a collared one, and they actually
they are wearing a collar.
They actually wear a collar with a chain to a bracelet by a soul dam, and everything they channel is controlled by the soul dam.
The only thing they
don't get it fucking channel by themselves.
The only thing they don't have is the chain. They have the collar, and the Sul'dam have bracelets. There's just no chain.
It's completely different because in this it was the Domain that was just going around like by herself doing everything with the soul dam, fucking picking fruit or doing whatever it was she was doing. I don't know what the fuck she was doing. It wasn't what she was supposed to be doing. Like this, the Soul Dam is the one that controls the domain's channeling. Like you do not channel unless the Soul Dam gives you permission to. You can't do anything without their
Well,
consent or
yeah,
their
and
permission.
they made it pretty clear that they can't in this. I mean, it's not super clear, but it will be because, well, I'm not going to spoil anything because it's coming.
And I wasn't a fan of the Shanshin helmets.
I liked them.
That wasn't the worst thing.
I liked them.
I can live with them. But when you go
I
back to
liked
the
them.
pictures in the book where they show what the Shanshin helmets look like, they're not
Are you
the
talking about
same.
the white book?
Any Shanshin chapter in any Wheel of Time book,
Is the chapter heading a helmet?
yeah. For the Shanshin,
I'm
yes
gonna have
it
to look
is.
that up.
Yes it
I'm
is.
gonna have to look that up.
The Shanshin.
So I'm gonna go to episode 3 because it's getting late. We start out episode 3 with a scene that I love. I've role played it many, many times. And they did it verbatim, which is amazing.
What? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Who comes? One who comes as a candidate for acceptance. It's verbatim from the books. I don't think they cut anything. They added a few things, but that's okay. And
There you go.
Nynaeve decides to go through the arches. They did change her past because I think her past in the books was like spiders or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's more along the lines of what I was expecting to see. So when I saw something completely different from that, I was like, oh, it's. But again, that wasn't the worst travesty. I can live with the way they made the Shanshin look costume
so far
wise.
I
The hair.
love the Shanshan.
The hair. The hair.
The voice. Half of her head was shaved.
The hair.
Did you miss it?
No, I saw that. The hair. The Empress has no hair.
That's not the Empress.
Sitting in the chair?
Yeah, it's High Lady Suroth. Tuon doesn't come for later.
I don't think so.
You're wrong.
I don't think so.
It's High Lady Suroth. It's not Tuon.
But there's also the other Bloods that were there that had full heads of hair.
Wow. Well, we'll have to see how it goes later. Let's go into episode. Or we could do episodes 3 and 4.
We can get through 3 real quick. We've already touched on a lot of things in 3.
Okay, arches. The entire cold open was all 3 of Nynaeve's arches.
Yes.
And the arches went quiet, and she did not come out, which is actually what happens in the books. Turmeric election. I thought they were great. I thought they were.
I had
wonderful.
Big issue with the first one, but again, that goes back to how Amazon screwed up Nynaeve from the very beginning.
I liked it. I thought it was great.
Nynaeve is from the Two Rivers. That whole bullshit just made no goddamn sense to me. But
the second one was the same as in the books, if I recall. She goes back, finds out that the wisdom there is messing stuff up, and basically killing her town.
Right.
And she has to leave them all.
Yep.
The third one is the same. She has a family with Lan, and she misses the arch.
She does.
Yeah.
And the arches go quiet. They seem to essentially lose their power, and the Aes Sedai said she's made her choice. Because she's told before she goes into them, the way out will come but once. So you go in there.
In the books, they say be steadfast.
Be steadfast, but I'm talking about in the series, they told her.
And they didn't say it in the series, and I was kind of upset because it's only 2 words. Like, you could have put the 2 words in there.
They could have done a lot of goddamn things, but they haven't.
I wanted them to say "Be steadfast." So
I wanted it to be 13 Forsaken. So you're missing your 2 words. I'm missing my 5 Forsaken.
same. I understand this. I'm trying to get. So we get more Shan-Chan. After the 20-minute cold open.
Yeah, actually, I forgot that we were still in the cold open, and it comes up on the opening credits. I'm like, what the
I did
fuck?
too,
I'm halfway through
actually.
this episode.
I
What are you
did too.
talking
I
about?
did too.
What are you talking about?
I
Skip
forgot that
intro.
we were still in the cold open, which wasn't really cold because we got a precursor to it when they walked in the room at the end of episode 2.
I've been watching this shit for 30 minutes. What do you mean skip intro?
The snake came on, and I was like, that was all that was forever. I do have to say, I appreciate that the new intro is just the Ouroboros and not whatever that.
Did you say the Ouroboros? This isn't fucking
No, whatever
Resident
it's called.
Evil.
Whatever it's called.
This is
The
not
snake biting its own
Resident
tail.
Evil.
Shut up.
Next episode has Leon Kennedy and Chris Redfield.
I like that they cut it and it's just the snake.
Yeah.
So we get High Lady Soroth with Ishii.
Yeah, Ishamael being with the Shan-Chan
is a little bit odd.
It's not odd, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, especially because we know something about the Shan-Chan later that doesn't make sense for Ishii to be there, but I'm not going to get into that. I like that they sent the Damane through the crowd to find the channelers.
I like that, and that's something that I can see coming from the books. However, the Damane isn't going to do it by her goddamn self. She's going to be...
She didn't. She was being followed around by a Sul'dam.
She might have been being followed around, but she was not leashed. There was no leash.
Go away. Anyway, moving on.
It's a simple fucking eye patch. It's a simple thing. Add a chain.
Little eye drawn on it.
I'll give you your 2 words if you give me my fucking chain.
That happens is that Uno's face.
He gets a very wide smile.
Meets Spike through head.
So they're telling everybody to kneel and swear the oaths. Uno refuses because Uno is very, very proud.
I'm quite upset that we lose Uno so early. However, I am very pleased at the brutality of the Shan-Chan when you don't kneel and bow and swear to the Empress. May she live forever. I don't think that I can say the word Empress without following it.
I can.
Yeah, that's your cat.
Yeah, I see that. That's a different one.
They're brutal. I love it.
Yeah, because I was trying to remember. I think it was much, much later in the books when we lose Uno. Like book 8 or 9 or somewhere in there.
I think it was 14.
No.
I don't remember. Moving on. Rand.
It might have been later, 8 or 9, but I don't think it was 14.
Rand finally gets in a room with Logain. With Twitchy.
I know you and I discussed this before we started here. Logain being in the nut house and Carrion makes exactly 0 sense. Exactly 0 sense. No, it's not.
Fine.
The Aes Sedai, once they've captured a male channeler, do not just
let them go. I'm
gentle
aware.
them and turn them back out to the world. Especially one who declared themselves a dragon reborn, had captured fucking nations.
That reminds me, we do have confirmation though, not from this scene, but from previous. We have confirmation that Logain and Taim are not going to be combined. We have confirmation that we are going to get Taim.
What did
I miss? They mentioned him.
Did they? I don't remember them mentioning Mazrim Taim.
They mentioned him by name. I don't remember which episode it was, but he was mentioned by name.
That part apparently did not stick to my memory. I do not remember them mentioning him, but that is good to know. That is good to know.
Yep.
And
I'm kind of weird.
also makes
It's kind
sense
of weird
because
they've
if they
given
didn't,
the.
that would have made zero fucking sense if they did combine the two with how shit goes later.
I know.
Yeah.
The fact that they gave the female glow to the boys is a little bit weird
It's a lot
because
of
they
bit
don't
weird.
have that. Huh?
It's a lot of bit weird, but I also
I'm
yeah.
okay. It's weird hearing
Logain
it and seeing it, but I'm okay.
Logain should have never been sent loose back to the world anyway. He is locked up in Tar Valon, being studied by the Aes Sedai. What the actual fuck?
Yep. So we get a scene. Rand tells Celine that he needs to find this fancy wine from Gildon, and she's like, "Come with me. We're gonna play dress up."
Yep.
Egwene finds out that Nynaeve is dead. The
Mhm.
archers have gone quiet, and she is not there.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, Shiriam is quite blunt. But that's the way
She
it
is.
is.
And she even says, she goes, I don't say this out of cruelty, I say it out of respect. For you,
Yep.
she's gone. She's dead. She didn't return. She won't return.
Yep. Liandrin lets Mat go. Mat in turn lets Min go, which is great. That happens at the end of the episode. We get some burning of rings, yada yada. Liandrin being all, I'm big and scary and you're not, to Egwene. The party in Kyrian. What'd you think of the party?
It was about as I would expect.
I liked it.
It wasn't anything special, but it wasn't.
I
It was
liked
one of the few
that
things that didn't piss me off.
I really liked that. I mean, the party, it just looked like a party, but I liked how,
I did like Rand's coat.
yes,
If you
ooh,
if you
I
noticed
loved
what
Rand's coat.
what was on it.
I noticed what was on it. I liked how the Kyrianan dress, what they were wearing, was so different than anything that we've seen so far. It's very Kyrianan to me.
Yes.
I know it's not exactly the way it's described in the books, but
they flaunt that they have the money.
Exactly.
Yes,
the
I
way
was
that
okay
they're
with that.
being portrayed and being dressed and being directed is so Kyrian. I love it. I really like it. What are those herons
Yeah.
on his jacket?
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Red
But the
jacket
fact
covered
that
in gold herons.
it's not his coat, you know the coat I'm talking about, but it's close. And it made me happy to have the red and gold coat on Rand.
I liked it a lot.
Oh, and then he starts learning about the game of houses.
He does. He
which
gets a
we're not gonna
he gets a brief introduction to the game of
talking to.
houses.
I wish we had met some illuminators. We had fireworks.
Fireworks and
No
no illuminators.
Hopefully, we're gonna get some. We need an Eludra at some point.
He
We'll
talks.
just have to see when we get her.
I know he finds out that the hunters that were meeting in the Foregate, are basically being sent off with promises of all this stuff.
Of nothing.
With
Yeah.
They're promises of all of these riches and everything, but basically they're just being sent away to kind of clear out the Foregate.
Rand goes back to Logain.
He takes exception to that.
He would. It's Rand.
Rand absolutely would take exception to that.
Yeah. Rand takes the wine to Logain, and Logain basically confirms his worst fear, that there is no control. There is no stopping it. There's nothing. And he kind of realizes that Logain might be a little crazy.
Logain still believes he's the
dragon.
Crazy. He still believes she's the dragon.
Yeah.
Even after being gentle, he thinks he's the dragon.
Yeah. I wish Mat had stopped and actually said something to Egwene, but he didn't. It's fine. Let men
See,
go.
that's not a Matt thing to do. After he'd
I know.
been locked away for so many months without seeing his friends, if he would have seen one of his friends crying on a fucking bench,
He would have gone to
there
her.
is it's no chance in the world that he would not have gone running into that garden, screaming "Egwene" at the top of his goddamn lungs.
Yeah.
The fact that he basically just turned his back on her disgusts me. Like that
I
is
will
not a
say,
fucking Matt thing to do at
I did just think
all.
of this. The fact that he was imprisoned by Leandrin does help set up his serious distrust of Aes Sedai for later in the book. Later, what happens in the books? If they keep that in this, I think that was a really good setup for that because the books he hates Aes Sedai, but there's never really a really solid good reason, and they've given him one.
The only really solid good reason is because of the stories he was told as a kid.
Right.
They
Which
hear all these horrifying stories of Aes Sedai and what they can do to you and all this stuff. And that's where I think a lot of it comes from.
right. But at least I like that with his imprisonment, they give him a solid reason to seriously distrust them.
Yeah.
After that, we get the scene with Ishi and Perrin, which was interesting.
It's stupid. I
I
was not a fan.
the scene was interesting. I'm not saying
Saying
I
that
didn't hate
basically
it,
say
but it wasn't.
the more wolf you become, the more you're mine or some shit like that.
Well, here's what's interesting is it because up until this point, I don't think that Elias has really mentioned the wolves to Perrin. Perrin's just realizing that maybe he and Elias are very alike in some ways.
Well, I mean, he has to,
Um,
after, especially after Elias told him, "Hey, you have
but
to make
we
sure
know
you know
that
the difference between the
Ishamael,
visions and reality." Like,
right?
obviously, he
Yeah,
knows that they have something
he
in
knows
common.
something. Yeah, but Ishamael's from the Age of Legends. In the Age of Legends, there were wolf brothers, so he knows exactly what Perrin is. And I think it was an interesting way to tell Perrin.
But it also doesn't make sense because, like, Ishamael, like, claiming basically dominion over all
I know.
fucking creatures, like, doesn't make sense. Like, first off, he's not the one that created Trollocs. That was Agenor. Like, the Shadow Spawn were
He's not
Agenor's
in the
babies.
show.
Uh, Wolves are not Shadow Spawn. By
No, they're not.
any fucking
Well,
stretch
so
of the imagination,
here's
they are
what
not
he
Shadow
was.
Spawn. So him saying the more wolf you become, the more you're mine makes it.
It does. It makes perfect sense.
No, it fucking doesn't.
Think about
How?
it. Think about it for 2 seconds, Will.
Thought about it. Still don't make sense.
What is being a wolf brother give Perrin access to?
Yes, I know that, but that doesn't.
Who aside from Lanfear,
Mokedian.
who is the master of the world of dreams?
Mokedian.
Yeah, but so is Ishi.
Yeah, but not near to the point that Mokedian was.
The point of the resurrected Forsaken right now that we're aware of, which is grand total of one, Ishemael, the farther Perrin goes to being able to access the wolf dream,
But no,
the more he
that is
is
not what
Ishi's. That is
Ishamael was.
totally what he was getting
It
at.
was not. He was saying the
Yes,
more
it
wolf you
is.
become, he's basically saying if you become a beast, you become mine. And that's not.
Mm-mm.
Yes,
I think it has to do with Teleron Riyadh.
I
I
don't.
really honestly do.
I 100% don't because Teleron Ride has not even been discussed in the show to this point. So
I
I doubt.
understand that,
So I
but I
doubt
still
that
think that's what it is.
Amazon can't even fucking do the right things, like anything that actually does fucking happen. So I doubt we even get Teleron Ride.
Yep. So what do we think that Leandrin is manipulating men about?
I don't know, but again, the whole men
It's
being
weird. I don't like it.
manipulated by Leandrin is bullshit too, because men wouldn't do that. She
Yep.
just
And
wouldn't.
then Rand sets what will probably be the entire Forgate on fire
Yeah,
because the whole thing is wood.
yeah.
Whoops.
And Selene knows that Rand did it and says, "I'm not afraid of you."
Yep. And then Egwene tries to rescue Nynaeve,
Nynaeve. Yep.
which is something Egwene would do. I have no qualms with that. Elaine
No.
goes with her because that's something Elaine would do. I have no
And
qualms with
Elaine
that.
tries talking her out of it, saying, I know what you're trying to do, but it can't be done."
Somebody said something about Matt's eye in this sequence from a stream I was watching yesterday with in Nynaeve's third arch, but I'm watching it right now.
With his eye?
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Okay.
Unless it happens later.
What is it,
Does
glass?
does he get dead in this?
Yes, Matt does. Oh, yeah. The Trolloc goes right over the eye.
Does it?
Yes.
I
when
think
he's dead, when she leaves the house, she goes outside, and
yep.
Matt's already laying on the ground dead. And yeah, he took like a Trolloc swipe or something right across one eye, and
You
he's
think
laying there
that's
dead.
you
It's
think
a
that's
little. It's a little.
foreshadowing?
I know it's a little foreshadowing. I mean, having read the books, yes, I know that that's foreshadowing. And then Perrin dies right in front of her.
She
She,
channels, which isn't supposed to be possible.
but
Her
we also don't know if she actually channels or if she channels in this little
right,
dream that
true.
she's in. Does
Um,
she
well, we
actually
think that
channel?
she actually channeled because she ended up putting enough surge of power into the situation to reactivate her arch.
And again, that's an assumption, but that I don't know if we'll ever
I
find
mean,
out.
it happened in the books, so not exactly like that, but like
Right.
they did go quiet and she came out later, if
Yeah.
I'm remembering correctly. So, she comes out crying, screaming. That
See,
is,
I don't remember the archers going quiet when she went in the first time. I remember her being with Lan and being in Malkier, I believe,
mhm,
and she sees the gate and she comes through and she is basically utterly disgusted because she lost the future that she wanted, which was a future with
right,
Lan or whatever. And she was,
yeah,
I think she
which
came out swinging at Aes Sedai, if I'm not mistaken.
probably. Um, I just know that's they did her arches very well,
I, I,
especially the third one because that's
I have no complaint about her arches.
no, I
I
think
have
they
no
were done
complaints about those.
very very well. And that's it.
That's it.
Any
I
final words?
the arches were done really well. I was very content with the way that those went.
Yeah,
Um, again, making about half that episode about the arches might have been stretching it a bit because in the books
I
it
thought
was a chapter, I believe, in the books.
it was, but it's
A-
such a
And again,
pivotal
it wasn't
thing
a
for
whole.
Nynaeve.
I know Nynaeve, Elaine, and Egwene. All three of them are three of the most powerful female channelers that this world has known in
Eons
eons. Yes, so
the,
I mean, I
in
understand
memory.
the importance of them being there, but the overwhelming importance that they put on Nynaeve dying
That annoyed me.
was like
Yeah, that was a
Leandrin burning
little.
her wing, like Leandrin calling her a
Well, they've
sister.
killed her. They've killed her 3 times now.
Leandrin calling Nynaeve a sister, I also took great exception to. Leandrin would
Oh,
never
she would
call
never do that.
a novice a sister, and that's what Nynaeve was when she died, was a novice.
Yeah.
Leandrin would never,
Mm-mm.
ever see any woman who is still wearing white as her equal.
As their sister. Yeah. Oh
No,
well.
I could, and knowing who and what Leandrin is, it also doesn't make sense that she would be so torn up about losing Nynaeve either.
Mm-mm.
The
But
tower
the
as a
show's giving her
whole,
more.
I can understand being upset about losing somebody so powerful when they
Yeah.
believe that they're on the brink of the last battle. But Leandrin's
Leandrin
almost
had much more interest in Nynaeve in the show
her
than she
almost
did in the books.
obsession
Yes.
with Nynaeve. Like
hmm
Leandrin in the books
It's kind of
despised
indifferent,
Nynaeve,
right?
Egwene, and Elaine, all three, because
And
she
just
thought that
she
the
just
three of
used
them
them for her own purposes.
all got preferential treatment, and she hated them for it.
hmm
So the fact that the Amazon has taken that and completely flipped it around and made Leandrin obsessed with Nynaeve and obsessed with
She obviously
Nynaeve
wants her to be a red.
realizing
Face.
I think you have Tourette's. The wrong color came out of your mouth.
I said no. Leandrin wants Nynaeve to be a red. I said wants, not is gonna happen. She's
You still
obviously not gonna be a red.
Leandrin doesn't want her to be a red.
hmm
You
In
said
the show, she does.
you said the wrong color. Um
Whatever.
but
Oh, that color. That's never gonna happen either.
It's not, but she wouldn't
She's
be.
from the same town as the dragon. It's never
Leandrin
gonna
would not.
happen.
Leandrin would not be that interested in Nynaeve to turn her red.
You might be right.
But regardless, hopefully they unfuck Moiraine at some point.
I really hope so. I'm the most upsetting part. The only thing I was really upset about with these episodes was Moiraine.
There were a lot of things that bothered me. Moiraine, I mean, it's almost to the point where I just don't want to watch any Moiraine scenes because
I don't either.
it's
I don't like what they did to her.
This is not Moiraine. It's same reason I took exception in season 1 with the way they portrayed Mat.
Yep.
It's almost criminal the way they portrayed Mat in season 1.
Jonathan is doing great though.
It's better in season 2. Still not where I wish it was, but it's better.
Yeah.
Moiraine is disgusting. I
feel
hate
bad
it.
for Lan.
I
'cause he's
absolutely
like
hate it.
the poor. I know. I don't like it. It makes me sad because Lan doesn't deserve that. Ever.
Nobody does.
Right. So.
But that's where we end episode 3.
We'll see. I'm really interested to see what. As much as I'm upset by the Moiraine arc at the moment, I'm interested to see where they take it because the whole
hopefully
the
off
whole
of a
point,
fucking cliff.
The whole point of her getting shielded and blocked was to give her as a main character, as a very critical person, more screen time in season 2. So far, she's only done what she's done in the books, plus the scene with Bail Doman, and that's it.
And if they follow the books at all in regards to Moraine's character going forward, then she's not an integral part.
She's not. But
so the fact that you're
someone
going
like
to
Rosamund Pike,
right, which is why it leads me to believe they're going to just completely fucking destroy this entire series, the entire series.
Well, we'll see.
But
if
I guess
she needs to have what happens to her happen to her, because that's all I'm gonna say.
We'll see. I'm not holding my breath for them to do anything right, but we'll see. But all right, that's all we've got for this episode. We will be back here next week.
See you next week.
And we will discuss episode 4.